Dr. Jimmy Gutman, who's going to be calling in from Canada. Dr. Gutman is the world's leading author on books about glutathione. He's the former professor at McGill University Medical School, where he originally, his specialty was emergency medicine, and he now practices family medicine. He was trained at the University of Calgary and did his emergency medicine residency at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, where he was the chief resident. He went on to an accomplished career in Canada, where he was appointed as the undergraduate director and residency training director of emergency medicine at McGill University. He has been an organizer and speaker at multiple national and international medical conferences and has contributed to the training of thousands of doctors and students. Dr. Gutman has sat on the board of directors for the Canadian Association of Emergency Medicine and various other boards dealing with policy and education. An expert on glutathione and the author of several best-selling books on this topic, he is dedicated to seeing the gap bridge between traditional and complementary medicine. He has appeared numerous times on television and radio and in digital media discussing the role of glutathione in health and disease. So I'd like you to welcome Dr. Jimmy Gutman. Are you there, Dr. Gutman?
Yes, how are you, Scott?
Jolly good. I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll let you continue with your presentation as you wish.
Good. So thank you for the introduction, Scott. As Mr. Lucy explained, my passion is about this crazy molecule called glutathione, and I'm going to shamelessly plug my book over here. I have been studying this for a quarter of a century, and you'll probably want to access this after the discussion, but there are a lot of ways of getting information on glutathione, not only through my book, but I do have a Facebook page and a YouTube channel that will always have updated information on this rather remarkable substance. So I'm going to focus on the immune system. So what is the immune system? There's a lot of definitions, but I think probably the simplest one, it's your body's defense system. Pretty straightforward enough. And so the question arises, how do you take care of your immune system? Well, I think anybody on this call, and certainly anybody's grandmother, would be able to tell you that to take care of your immune system, you need to eat well, you need to sleep well, you need to exercise, manage stress, and take care of your lifestyle. But I think that in the next couple of years, you're going to see it become quite popularized that something else needs to be done to take care of your immune system, and that is to raise your glutathione levels. Now, you may or may not heard of glutathione before, but this is something that has received so much attention that in the next couple of years, everybody will be using the word glutathione as commonly as they use the word antioxidant. So eat well, is that even possible? I think it's possible to try to eat well. I'm not sure that it's possible to really get all the nutrition you need, even if you're going to the farmer's market and getting your produce there. Do you think for a second that the potato that my mother put in front of me as a child is at all similar to the potato that you're going to find at the market today? And the answer is clearly it's not. And there's a lot of research looking at this. The nutritional value has declined decade by decade to the point where it's clear that we do need to supplement our diets because we are missing things that don't show up in our food because of our agricultural practices or what we've done to the genetics of these plants, use of pesticides and herbicides and on and on. I think that's something you all understand and accept. What about sleeping well for your immune system? Well, I think the data shows that half of us don't sleep well enough, and not sleeping well will clearly have a negative effect on immune function. How about exercise? Just looking at the habits of most of us in the Western world, we're not getting enough exercise. Probably 25 or 30% of us are not getting any exercise at all. So I can only give you a C as a general score. Stress management, well, don't even need to touch that one these days with what's going on in the world. I think we're all suffering stress, overload. Lifestyle, well, of course, nobody in North America and nobody in the UK, they don't drink beer, they don't eat junk food, and they don't smoke, right? Wrong. Okay. So what do you do? You know, we've received kind of middling marks on all of these things. What to do? Well, this is where glutathione comes in. I think that the raising glutathione becomes very, very important. Let's look at glutathione for a moment. Glutathione, it's something that's already inside of every single cell of your body. And glutathione is already in your body. And it's a substance that literally life would be incompatible without. Glutathione is in our cells, but it's also in the cell of every living organism in the world, from humans to mammals to insects to plant life to microscopic life. Glutathione is a key defender of our cell. And again, if you want to go online and be a little bit masochistic and start reading about this, you're going to be overwhelmed with the amount of information on glutathione. This website I'm showing you here, PubMed, this is a major repository of research in the world. All the major and minor journals will post their articles on PubMed, and any researcher and any doctor and any scientist know this site well. Every researcher uses this pretty much every working day of his or her life. And there's over 150,000 articles. I want to put that in context. There's probably, I don't know, 50,000 on vitamin C, and probably the same amount of vitamin E. There are more articles on glutathione than there are in vitamin C and vitamin E put together. So I think that tells you an important point. So what does this glutathione do for us anyways? I could talk about 50 or 60 different things on a cellular level that it does, but I'm going to keep it to 4. And if you understand these 4, you probably understand 90% of glutathione. And the way to remember these 4 is to remember the acronym IDEA. Glutathione, what a great idea. The IDEA stands for immune system, D for detoxification, E for energy, and A for antioxidant function. If we look at these in turn, just to put it very, very simply, people with low glutathione levels are almost always immunocompromised. People with good glutathione levels generally have optimized their immune function. So I tell people to think of glutathione literally as food for the immune system. D stands for detoxification. Again, these days, even if you're living on top of a mountain, even if you go to the middle of the ocean, you are not going to be able to get away from the toxins and pollutants in the air that you breathe, the food that you drink, and the food that you eat, and the water that you drink. This is part of living in 2020, and glutathione. Many of the emergency medicine people know about glutathione because we use glutathione to detoxify certain overdoses. But Glutathione is also responsible for the detoxification of cigarette smoke and automobile exhaust and pesticides and herbicides and heavy metals. And I can flash a slide on the screen in a 4-point that goes on and on and on about the thousands of recognized toxins that depend entirely on glutathione for their removal. So I tell people that next to water, glutathione is the most important detoxification substance we have in our body. And by no coincidence, the highest levels of glutathione to be found are in your liver, which is, after all, your major organ of detoxification. Energy, we can keep you here all day just talking about energy. Just to give you a little example, our cells have these little batteries in them that we call mitochondria. These mitochondria would literally burn up were it not for a constant supply of glutathione. And when glutathione availability becomes impaired, the mitochondria don't function at the level they're supposed to, and we lose energy. And this could be translated into studies on not just microbiology or biochemistry, but into whole body performances, such as Olympic sports. And finally, this is the rule that most people who have heard of glutathione recognize glutathione has been considered the master antioxidant. Now, why would you use a term like master antioxidant, which sounds more like a marketing term than a scientific term? It's accurate because of the somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 different antioxidants we know of, vitamin C, vitamin E, and hundreds of others. None of these antioxidants can work properly without the presence of glutathione. Glutathione recycles other antioxidants. Glutathione recharges other antioxidants. And if you think of antioxidants working with each other like gears in a clock, well, a clock needs a drive shaft. A clock needs a spring. Well, the spring that's driving all of our antioxidant mechanisms in our body is the glutathione system. So with these four in hand, you begin to understand the critical importance that glutathione plays in maintaining a healthy life and a healthy immune system. Problem is that there's so many ways of losing glutathione. Many drugs will decrease glutathione. Eating poorly clearly is a source of poor glutathione levels. When you get injured, when you're traumatized, when you're burned, it's been documented glutathione levels drop. Stress will decrease glutathione. Here's a cute study. They measured glutathione levels in people that practice transcendental meditation, for relaxation. And they matched glutathione levels with individuals the same sex, the same age. And the ones who practiced meditation had better glutathione levels. So just an indication of stress and its effect of lowering glutathione. Infection, disease, and this is huge these days. I will be giving a public lecture at some point in time in regards to glutathione and COVID. So keep your eyes open for that one. Pollution, toxins, the aging process. Okay, this is one that's very appropriate for our talk today. Every 10 years of life, you lose 10% of your glutathione levels unless you're doing something about it. And lowered glutathione levels correlate with the majority of diseases of aging. I'll show you a little chart later. Even if you're trying to take the sun, radiation will decrease glutathione levels. So we need to replace glutathione levels. And how do we do it? Well, you can't expect to eat glutathione and see your glutathione levels go up. Eating glutathione just isn't efficient, because when you eat it, it gets broken down in your digestive tract, mostly by an enzyme we call GGT, gamma glutamyl transferase, for you keeners out there. But the glutathione is actually, in our body, is actually made in our own cells. So the way to raise the glutathione levels in your cells is to give your cells the building blocks, the specific nutrition, what we call the precursors, so your cells can make their own glutathione. And those precursors, there's a very common drug out there called N-acetylcysteine that is a glutathione precursor, but it does have some problems with toxicity. And the other way to raise glutathione has been recognized in the medical literature, which I am been working on for over 20 years, is what we call undenatured whey protein isolate. Now, there are certain proteins, when extracted properly from whey, serve as glutathione precursors. Again, very highly studied over 40 years of research. And that undenatured whey protein has been patented and distributed by a company called Immunotech, which has a product called Immunocal, which is sold throughout the world. And what Immunocal is are protein precursors that humans can eat, digest. There's no toxicity related to it. This protein is absorbed into the bloodstream and carried to the cells, and the cells make glutathione and improve immune function. And no secret, no black box, nothing that couldn't be explained to even a college biochemistry student. So here's, just in closing, I'm going to show you a couple very interesting studies. Here we see this graph, and it shows that glutathione levels drop as we age, unless we're doing something about it. And they drop and they drop and they drop. But if you measure glutathione levels in people that are like 100 years or older, all of a sudden you find that they have high glutathione levels. Isn't that odd? So if this was a live presentation, I'd ask y'all, why? And every once in a while, somebody gets the answer. And the answer is, that's why they're 100 years old, because they had a genetic predisposition to maintain high glutathione levels. And their friends and their enemies who didn't have high glutathione levels have been selected out of the population. This is natural selection at its finest. The higher glutathione levels correlate with extensive lifespan. Here's another study for the North Americans listening. This is an aging study done in Florida. And I say North Americans understand that Florida is where all old people go to retire. And they looked at elder people and measured their glutathione levels. And they compared them to young, healthy people. You'll see that the young, healthy people had good glutathione levels. The healthy older people, defined as those who really didn't have too many complaints, had the next highest glutathione levels. The yellow group, these are elderly outpatients. These are older people that need to visit their doctor on a regular basis to get checked up, to get their medications refilled. Doing not so good. And finally, that red box are older people in the hospital. A perfect correlation in older people with glutathione levels and their level of health and wellness. Great study. And of course, what about the rest of us that are feeling pretty good? Is raising glutathione going to make us even better? Well, here's a study. Here are actually two studies that we've done using the Immunocal. The first one was in athletes, where we took a group of university students, fed them either a placebo or Immunocal starting at the beginning of the summer, had them go through identical training routines, brought them back in the fall and measure them for strength and endurance. And what we demonstrated was that in the group taking the Immunocal, which raises glutathione, they were between 10 and 15% stronger. Again, I need to put this into context. What does that mean? Well, in the Olympic Games, in the vast majority of competitions, the difference between the gold medal and the poor slob coming in sixth place, whose name nobody will ever remember, is usually less than 1%. So a 10 to 15% increase is really quite remarkable. And after we published this study, boy, we drew the attention of everybody, team owners, athletes, organizations, and on and on and on. And now, if Scott and I were to watch the Olympics on TV, we'd be able to point to the athletes and go, he's on Immunocal, she's on Immunocal. Canadian Olympians, American Olympians, British Olympians, Kenya, Poland, and on and on and on. And we didn't stop at young people. We went ahead and repeated the study in an elderly population. And in this elderly population, we improved their strength by 10%. Again, in context, what is a 10% improvement in strength in an older people? Well, when we get older, we're afraid of two things: mental decline and physical decline. The mental decline, I don't need to get into, you all appreciate that, but the physical decline is just as much a reason, as often as mental decline, for older people to lose their independence. So a 10% difference is between being in bed and being in a wheelchair, between being in a wheelchair and using a walker, between using a walker and using a cane, between using a cane and playing with your grandkids in the backyard. 10% is actually a very palpable difference. So that's just a brief introduction to glutathione. A little bit we touched upon health and aging. There's so much more that we speak about. Some of the, in fact, most of the major disease processes in the Western world have articles on glutathione, both in prevention and treatment. And I welcome you all to check out those addresses at the bottom of the screen for more information. And with that, Scott,
well, I've got some questions.
I will leave it, send it back over to you.
So thank you once again for joining us all the way from there. The weather looks great behind you.
Yeah, it's actually, it hasn't snowed yet. It hasn't snowed yet. It will soon.
Appreciate you coming on.